Okay, and I apologize for my child yelling in the background.
So I'm going to start with question number 3. Which team had the highest pre-money value? And really, I want to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Well, I was a little confused because did anyone else ever see the pre-money value for DuPage or DuPont or whatever their
No,
venture capital was? Did you guys find that anywhere?
I could not find that either.
No,
That
there's a
looks
lot of left off information in this case.
Yeah, so I thought that was weird. But if you guys do click on the B page, Brent, did you read the B?
Yeah, I read it.
Oh, so yeah, so Astoria gave the highest pre-money value and the post-money value.
Yeah, I was totally on board with Astoria. I wasn't so on board with Prosper.
Well, I thought wasn't Astoria, I guess, hold on, the questions probably asked us later on. Anyways, so that's
Yeah.
our
So
answers.
the highest pre-money value was with Astoria.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to write, because I already did all my notes, but then I'm going to just write what you guys say in a different color so that just add it to my notes. So, okay. And I did delete some of the questions because I couldn't find any relevance for them. And so if I skip one that you guys want to talk about, please interject those questions, because the next question was just choose teams that showed extremes in performance and ask what happened that led to the results.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you, Susan. I think we're missing something here.
Yeah.
The content that he gave us is good, but it only talks about Astoria and Prosper, the one that on the announcement, and there's never anything about DuPage, not one.
Right. Okay, so I went about this at a different angle because I didn't know very much about the Astoria and Prosper. And so I just wrote about Adwala, that they did extremely well in 2001 with high sales because of the health craze. Because it says choose teams that showed extremes in performance. And the teams, I went to just the Exhibit 7 and looked at, the comparison of those. And that's what I used for the information to answer this.
Yeah.
And then also, Adwala came into the market at the right time for tremendous sales. And then I said, Innocent Ltd, I'd not heard of, but Coca-Cola bought them, and that branded them so much that they had the highest sales on the chart.
Yeah.
Because branding and timing make a huge difference in when you sell, you buy, or go public with a company.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so here's one thing about what money they would invest. It says DPV expected to invest between 3 to 10 million.
Right.
Successful company. So I think that's pretty much the only thing we know, and that kind of had to deal with what their future earnings were going to be. So let's see, 3 to 10 million, and those that could reach revenues of 50 million or more within 5 years to 7 years.
Right, and I used those numbers for the next question from the DPV side and asked what was this negotiation, and that's when I used those numbers.
Yeah, it's just hard because we don't have. So I think maybe for the questions we're supposed to kind of create value for DPVs. Yeah, so it says choose a student from the DPV side and ask what were your goals for this negotiation. Yeah, this is weird.
Yeah, I was confused reading this because I didn't understand even what the valuation of X was.
Right.
I don't know where it mentions IRR of Y either. Did you ever see that, Andrew?
Well, it talks about the IRR. They expect to get a 25% IRR, which is just the internal rate of return. So like before taxes, they expect to make 25. So they'll make all their money back that they invested plus 25%.
Okay.
So, I feel like we're missing something big here, unless he gives like X and Y. But that's all for. I mean, these questions are all for DPV.
Right, and so also the TA just said that she did not understand the question either, and to find out where that was and what it was related to. And she's the one that is grading these.
Yeah. Okay.
And so she said that just follow the rubric and make sure that you answer all the questions that the rubric wants you to answer.
Yeah.
And but I wrote that goals of only funding new startups was part of their negotiation. They had specific details that they wanted somebody who was going to reach 50 million in value by 5 to 7 years. And then the board seat, that was part of their terms. They wanted to sit on the board with a non-voting capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And how important is this deal to DPV? I answered, this case study doesn't really comment on how much DPV wants this deal, but it is a good fit for what they usually invest in.
I felt like DPV or whatever they are. I thought they were really interested, mostly because they came after them first.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought DuPage was really interested personally. And just doing a little, so kind of to answer valuation of X, IRR of Y. So they expect to receive a 25% internal rate of return. The paper tells us that. And so valuation wise, it shows that on these financials, it shows that they expect that by 2015, Mumate expects to have a $50 million revenue. So that matches their thing. So I would say, 3 to 10 million, and I think there's quite a bit of growth. I would put their valuation probably up on the higher side of 10 million. I put it like maybe 8.5, which would be even a higher valuation than Astoria. If Astoria said that they're worth 7.5 million and 10 million post, I would say that they would probably do right around 7.5 or 8 million for them.
It's interesting that DPV wants to invest 3 to 10 million because in neither of the Astoria or Prosper was going to raise 3, right? Astoria was going to raise 2.5.
Yeah. Yep. So they're going to raise 3 and they're going to invest 2.5.
So DPV was higher than both of those, I guess, right?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it depends on. So, like, it was 7.5, 10 million post, but 7.5 pre. So that's the valuation they got. So Astoria gave them a 7.5 valuation, and they were going to invest 2.5 million. Prosper gave them a 4.5 million valuation, was going to invest 3 million. So, but I mean, I guess the questions in the future about this. So I guess I would kind of put I put DPEV in there kind of at the same, a 7.5 pre-valuation, but they want to invest 3 to 10, they said.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could probably invest more, like maybe 3 or 4 million in, which would give them like a $11 million post valuation.
So, okay, so there's different reasons for them to invest more than it is necessary, just so it makes the value of the company higher.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think anything's necessary per se. Just the more money that they invest, the larger the stake they take is. And they said that I think it said they wanted a 20 to 30% stake, if I remember right. So it just ranges, So depending on the valuation that they give them, then they're going to buy the stock from them by investing money in. So let's see. It says they wanted 20 to 30% prior equity stake. So 20% being the low end, and probably like the 3 million, and 30 being the high end.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it depends on how much they're willing to give up. Yeah. So here's another thing. It says DPV's initial commitment to a company averaged 1 to 5 million. So I mean, they're looking to invest a total of 3 to 10, but initially they would invest 1 to 5. So that means they can invest like a Series B, I think. But for right now, they're looking for this initial Series A, 1 to 5.
Which is still, quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other companies only did 2.5 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that's DPV that wants to initially only invest
1 to 5.
1 to 5, and then later on 3 to 10.
Yeah.
Or 3 to 10.
I went with the 3 to 10 the whole time.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a difference there because it says DPV's initial commitment to a company averaged 1 to 5 million. Factoring in follow-on rounds, so like a Series B, DPV expected to invest between 3 and 10 million.
Total.
In successful companies that have that could reach revenue of 50 million or more within 5 to 7 years, which Mumate is going to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So All right, so let's move on to the Mumate side. Did the co-founders see things the same way, or were you focused on other interests? And so we were supposed to write down an order of importance of the deal terms, pre-money value, board composition, option pools. And I left them, I changed them once, but then I put them all back in my opinion that they're in the right order already. They want to know first what the deal terms are. Right?
Yeah. I think the deal terms, I felt like, just from reading, I felt like they were really cared about having a spot on the board.
Yeah, that was important to them.
I thought that was super. I mean, that kind of goes with deal terms, I guess. No, board composition.
Yeah, it sounded like, was it Taylor? The second one that, no, Maxwell was worried about Taylor sitting on the board, right?
Yeah, she really wanted her on the board, and Astoria didn't want that, and they were really worried about not being able to have a chance to be CEO. Astoria wanted to put in a new CEO, which I kind of feel. I mean, for a lot of reasons, I think that kind of makes me shy away from Astoria. But it's hard too because we don't know the exact composition, like what DPVs actually offer, and we kind of just know general terms of what they're going to offer.
So, and was that part of Astoria's deal terms? Did they want to be on the board also? Or did they say they wanted to insert a new CEO?
Yeah, they said they wanted to insert a new CEO, because that's on the B page, which I don't think you got, or you haven't opened up yet. But yeah, so Astoria wanted to put in a new CEO and not have them sitting on the board.
And not have the co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
That's one part I guess I misunderstood. I thought that with Astoria,
was that backwards? Here's the deal.
Still going to be
board: 3 members, founder, CEO, VC, outsider, suggested by Mumate and acceptable to Astoria. Yeah, so they want to oust the CEO, and then they want to have
their initial terms are those the founder.
No.
The founders are the CEO or one of them, Maxwell.
Yeah, but then it says upon hiring new CEO, board increases to 4 with new CEO taking additional seat.
Yeah, I misunderstood that.
Hold on. But then Prosper says 2 founders, VC, outsider suggested. So it would be 2 founders, both of them would sit on the board. 1 person from the VC and then an independent board member. So that fares better for them. And then the option pool is 17.5 for Astoria. It's 12.5. So that's kind of something I had to do a little research on, like vesting shares. I didn't realize what those were. Did you guys figure those out?
Well, you're the one that taught us about that last time.
Well, yeah. So I talked about option pools, but not about vesting shares within option pools.
I didn't look that one up.
So it's kind of like they call it's sweat equity. So say they give you 30% of the company as a CEO, or 50% of the company, whatever it is. So like after 1 year, you'll get 33% of those. But then you have to, like, each month you'll get a smaller percentage and a smaller percentage, but you have to be working for those percentages to come in. So if you decided just to take a back seat and say whatever, then the company could buy back your shares unless they've been vested. So you have to put in time to get your shares so that the company can't buy them back. It pretty much is just to make sure that the founders are going to stay and work and put in effort, or they're going to lose their company. So,
which is a good, I think that's probably a good, but is that part of the option pool? That's something I have so little understanding of, but.
It sounds to me like it's different than the option pool.
It's the same. It's kind of because it's fully diluted shares after round closes. And so then once they have 33.3% on closing, so that means once the Series A is done after a year, they get 33%. And then the rest will vest linearly over 24 months. So then every month that they work, they'll get a certain percentage, an equal percentage, or a flat rate of shares until the end of 24 months. And then at the end of 24 months, they have all their shares. And they can't be bought back. So technically they could just say, oh, screw it, I don't want to work anymore. And then they're going to sit around and still get their money. So, but they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, sorry.
No, that's good to me. I want to learn as much as I can about it anyway. So,
So I kind of felt like, I guess in my opinion, that the board composition was most important for them. They didn't even really they didn't seem so worried about like a pre-money valuation and post-money valuation. I kind of felt like the board composition was real important to them, but I don't know what you guys thought when you read through.
Yeah, I would say that I think the deal terms would be most important because I think part of the board composition is on the deal terms.
Yeah. It says right here, it says Maxwell and Taylor also needed to talk with Cantor and Rodriguez. This is about DPV, about control and how much DPV may want to change things. How much influence would the co-founders have over the direction of the company, built as it was on values and goals that were important to both? For example, Taylor worried about coming under pressure to adjust her formulations to use cheaper ingredients that might not offer the health benefits, blah, blah. So meaning that they wouldn't be on the board. See, would they be better off trying to get a loan? Yeah, so I think they were worried about having control and not being on the board. And they thought about doing angel funding.
Taylor and Maxwell were worried about it.
Yeah. And then we go over to the B page, and I think this is where it talked about it more. Maxwell received the term sheets from the two other companies. The term sheets were nearly identical with respect to several provisions. These provisions, which according to Monte turning in, were consistent. Let's see if there's anything here that says anything about it.
He felt strongly that her partner, Taylor, should have a place on the board of directors.
Yeah.
And then Maxwell thought it was important that Taylor should have a say in the direction of her company.
Yeah.
So Brent, you're saying that you think that she should stay on, or they thought that she
That's what they thought. It says,
yeah, that Taylor and Maxwell thought.
Yeah, and Prosper allowed that to happen, but Astoria did not.
Yeah, and it says here, it says, beyond that, Astoria's term sheet implied that they might wish to bring in a new CEO. While she was open to that possibility, Maxwell thought that she should be given the opportunity to run Mumate until it outgrew her capabilities.
Yep.
So I feel like they didn't want to lose control. So I feel like in a lot of ways, for that reason, Astoria is kind of out, even though they gave him a good valuation.
Would that put DPV ahead of Prosper then?
Here's what I'm kind of starting to think about this case, because it's a negotiation case. So they're going to bring up what Astoria and Prosper offered them and try. So I would think that DPV is going to have to offer something above what Astoria and Prosper offer. So because Astoria didn't want them to be CEO or be founders, but Prosper did, then they can use that kind of as a negotiating term and say, well, we want this. And because Astoria gave us this valuation, we want, instead of a 7.5 pre-money valuation, we want a $8 million pre-valuation and $3 million invested. Because DPV is going to have to come back with a better offer than both of these companies do. So maybe that's kind of what this is all about.
I watched a little video on YouTube of probably another BYU Idaho student kind of doing an evaluation. He used Excel, and he kind of used, I can't remember what those tables were called that we used a few weeks ago, where it has the first seed round and then Series A, Series B.
Capitalization table.
Capitalization table. So he used one of those, and he showed on there the percentage that the founders would have if they went with Astoria and invested 1.25 million in the first round, 1.25 million in the second round. They would.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They did say that. DuPage wanted to do that, right? Or was that
Astoria? Maybe I'm confused.
So
yeah, no, that was Astoria. That was no. If it was 1.5 and 1.5, that was Prosper.
No, it's 1.25.
Oh, okay. So that was Astoria. Yeah, you're right.
Because I looked up tranches, and that's what that is too.
Yeah.
So
what would they? Do you remember, Brent, what they would have if Astoria puts in a 1.25?
Yeah, it's like they'd have 2% more ownership.
10% more?
2%.
2% more?
Yeah.
It says that here on the exhibit 1 of the B1 Mumate, it says that Astoria wants 25% ownership, which is pretty fair. But the big issue with Prosper's is that they want 40% ownership.
Wow.
Well, I mean, because they're giving more money and giving a lower valuation, so they're buying technically more of the company. So I get why that's horrible. So I mean, I think like I would imagine that we're kind of making a decision for them and helping them in the paper, helping them negotiate. Does that come up at all in this thing? I guess we'll just keep going with the questions.
Not on the questions. It doesn't.
Okay, well then I'll just say this now. But I would imagine that maybe we're supposed to come up with what they should ask for from DuPage. Like I would say, obviously like 25%. I would take kind of pieces from both and say, 25% is a good amount, and then, or you could like say give us 3 million and give us a 7.5 valuation, or give us an 8.8 valuation and give us 25%. I mean, you have to do the math on your own, whatever you guys think on your own papers, but I think as long as they can get like, say we'll get 3 million, we'll take the 3 million from Prosper, we'll take the valuation from Astoria, but we'll take the board foundation from Prosper, take pieces from each one. And then that's how I feel like they should negotiate with DPV.
Put together their own, just like the other one, do their own deal on their terms.
Yes. Yep. Anyways, yeah. I guess.
Okay, so how did the VC go about valuing Numade?
Wait, where's this question? Sorry.
Number 7, although the numbers are never correct.
Historian proper term sheet. Okay.
So
so 6 was
just we're talking.
I guess
about that.
6 was just a question I answered. How did the Astoria Prosper term sheet affect your negotiation strategy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah, I would take it from a little from each. Anyways, all right. So, how did the VC go about valuing Mimate? What's VC? All the VCs? What exit value were they expecting?
See, I only used DPV because that's the only one I was going with. So, because what exit value were they expecting? Now, I just took the 50 million in 2015.
Yeah.
As their value of exit. But you said a few minutes ago that the value would be much higher, like 7 million or something like that, or it would be a lot less if that were the case, because they don't value it's how much they can make, right?
Well, no, I mean, I think they usually use a multiplier, and they discussed the multiplier they used in this case.
The next question.
Is that about multipliers?
From that exit value, how much money did they need to receive in order to get 5 times to 10 times on their investment?
Yeah, from that value. What exit value were they expecting? Okay, well, let's see here for a second. Go back up. I probably should have taken better notes, but I didn't.
So this is what I was going to talk to you guys about, because I go, okay, well, I don't know how that works, how to figure that out. So would we just take the 50 million that they were expecting to be worth and multiply it by 5 to 10?
Well, 50 million is not technically what they're worth. 50 million is the revenue. So that's why people use a multiplier. So they take like earnings before tax and interest and find comparable companies, which they talk about in here, like Coke and Pepsi and these other companies, and then they'll use a multiplier from those companies and times it by earnings before interest and tax, and that kind of tells you what they're worth. So let's see here.
Yeah, well, so how much money did they need to receive in order to get 5 times?
I think they said they need, let's see. So I think Maxwell and Taylor, they're asking 2.5 million.
That's what they wanted to.
That's what they want to receive. So if they invested 2.5 and they're going to receive 25% from whatever the company's worth at the end of the term. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, so I didn't even know how to figure this out. How much money did they need to receive in order to get 5 to 10 times their investment?
And is this talking about the VCs, or is this talking about?
Yeah, it's all under the VC question. How did the VC go about valuing Mimade? Because in that other question, what share of the equity would that dollar amount equal? So these are the financials that.
Is the exit value or that we're thinking about what we expect to see in 5 years?
It's what the company would be worth in 5 years. So like if it was sold, what you would get from your stocks, or what you could sell your stocks for.
Okay.
And so what is that? So we take.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure that out. Hold on, real quick. Hold on.
I think in one of these exhibits it talks.
I feel like I remember seeing it somewhere. I'm just trying to find it. So they want a 25% return. So whatever is 25% has to be more than 2 point. So they want 2.5, and they have to get back 25%. They get 25% of whatever the company's worth, and that 25% has to be 5 to 10 times bigger than 2.5, right?
Go to Exhibit 6. I think that's probably where you saw it, Andrew.
Right, and that's what I have.
Exhibit 6.
This one that's turned sideways.
But this is the financials, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this doesn't talk about
what
the company's worth.
12, 13, 14, 15.
Where's that at?
Because it's 2012F, 2013F, 2014F, 2015F.
I think that's future. That just means they're future funds. So projections. Yeah, projected 2012 to 2015. 2009 to 2011 are actuals. But that's just revenue, because, I mean, you don't value a company just by revenue. That's why they do a multiplier, because there's assets involved and all these other things. Okay, so if you go to Exhibit 7, there's some similar companies. Let's see, I think it talks about what their multiples were. Acquisition value 66. So I would imagine that's 66 million.
Yep.
Green coffee value to LTM EBIT.
And it talks about the last year's sales. So you guys tell me again what EBIT means.
Earnings before interest and tax.
Okay, earnings for
LTM. What's LTM mean?
Last 12 months.
Last 12 months. Okay. So let's do this. Let's look. What's our last 12 months sales? We sold, what's 2012? So we sold 978. And what is ours in? $978,000. So $1 million in the last 12 months. But we're looking at exit value.
What year are you looking at,
50 million. Exhibit 6.
I know what year.
Well, we're going off of exit value, so we're going to look at 2015. It would be the exit.
Okay.
So LTM sales. So it would be about the same as the top one, which sold for 66 million. Dietrich Coffee Inc. sold for 316 million, but had last month's sales of 666. So we probably line up better with the top one. Oh, well, that's snack products.
What about the IZZE Beverage Company? That's 57.
Where's that one at?
Oh,
there it is.
50 in the bottom.
Well, the last month's sales was only 15. Last 12 months.
Oh, you're right.
So we need to. I mean, that's a high valuation. Natural sodas.
Rubicon drinks. Theirs was 60.
So where'd you see it? LTM on exhibit?
It's Exhibit 7. It's Exhibit 7.
No, but we're not on this one, are we, Mamate? I didn't see us. We're not on it.
We're not supposed to be. So this is showing us what people like us have gotten for their valuations.
But I thought you said you saw what we did the last 12 months.
Yeah, that's on Exhibit 6.
It is by $50 million in revenue.
Okay, so we're considering that's the value. Okay.
No, we're not considering that the value. That's how much we sold. So we're going to take 2015 to 2014. We sold 50 million. We're projecting to sell $50 million worth of value. So if we go down to Exhibit 7, there's LTM sales, last 12 months sales. So here's companies like us that have had last month's sales, and we see that ours is 50 million. So we should find companies that are right around 50 million.
Okay.
And then look at what they sold for. So then we're going to look under the actual acquisition value.
Maybe we could use Rubicon Drinks. I know that its acquisition value is 116.
But it doesn't mean that ours couldn't be.
Yeah, the LTM on that one is just a little bit higher than ours.
So mine doesn't have a decimal point. So is it 57.2, which is what I thought it was probably supposed to have a decimal point there?
Yes.
So yeah, because that's the highest acquisition value. So we could kind of build a case that ours is going to do as well.
Yeah. So I think it was a 27.5 multiplier. So if we have 50 million and we times it by 27.5, that would put us at 100 and, hold on, let me do this in actual numbers. Oh, that's not LT. Hold on. What's our EBIT would be for? $110 million. So I think that's pretty fair. So let's see what 110 million would be. How many times?
We're gonna take 1,032 times 27.5 or what?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
And
so
then,
do it one more time.
Hold on, Susan. Let me figure it out, and then I'll go back and explain it because I can't think and talk at the same time. I'm trying to figure this out. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, I think that would give them more than 5 times because if they invested 2.5, so let's see, 110 million, and then I'm going to divide that by, well, what did I just divide that by? 110 million. Oh, and I times it by 25% because they expect to receive a 25% return at exit, which is 27 million. And then I'm going to divide that by, if I divide it by like, well, I'll divide it by 2.5. Let's say they invest 2.5. No, that's not right. So 27, 1, 2, 3 divided by like 5 would be 5. So it's more than 5 times because 27 and divided by 5, which it gives us 5 million. So that would work. So an EBIT multiplier of 27.5 would give us more. Would give us between 5 to 10 million times, or 5 to 10 times. Oh, let's see what it is. Like 8. Oh yeah, you give us like a 9 times multiplier for DuPage. Okay, so Susan, now ask your questions. I'm ready to answer them.
So how did you decide what to multiply? Yeah, so you lost me very early on, so I'm not sure what you've done.
Okay, so we look at what our exit year is, right? So our exit year is
50 million.
Is 50 million. Okay, so we'll go down to Exhibit 7. So this is like in 2 numbers, but it's actually in millions, right? So we look first at our last 12-month sales were 50 million. So first we want to go through and look at last 12-month sales and which companies had 50 million.
And we chose
Rubicon. Hold on. So LTM, I'll tell you why we chose Rubicon. So the top one, importations, Roma, whatever it is, was 53.9, right? But they're a snack food producer, so they probably don't align with us very well. So yeah, so then we chose Rubicon, which had 57.2. It's a little higher than us. That's okay. So they are a British company that produces and wholesale soft drinks, specializing in exotic tropical drinks, including passionate and sparkling mango crush. So that's probably the closest that we're going to find with the similar last 12 month sales to us.
Agreed.
So then we go from last 12 month sales, and you can either take 50 million by 2.1, or you can take 27.5 by EBIT. So our EBIT was on 2015 was 4,032,000 whatever. So we took that number times the EBIT multiplier, which was 27.5, which gave us a value of $110 million.
Okay, so you took the 50 million times the 27.
No, you take in the EBIT. 50 million is revenue. So EBIT is earnings before interest and tax. So if you go back to Exhibit 6, you'll see, and we go in 2015, you go down in the second section, right at the bottom, there's EBIT. And it says 4,032, which actually is a million. So it's 4 million something.
Okay. So 4032. Did you do it by, did you use the 32 or just do?
I did millions. So I put the zeros on the end.
But you just rounded the 4 million?
No, I did 4 million, 30 and 32,000, whatever. Yeah. So I put all the numbers in. I put the complete number there, and then I times that complete number by 27.5. And that gave me 110 million something.
880.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the value to last 12 months EBIT. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then, but DuPage, the VC company, is only going to take 25% of those earnings, right? Or something like that. I did 25%. So really, they're only going to leave with, I think it was 27 million total, right? So they invested 2.5 million. So then we got to find out how many times their investment they're going to make back. So 27, it was like, I think they're making back like 9 times their investment. But that's the process.
Yeah, if you divide 27 by 27,800, whatever it was, by 9, we're at 3 million.
Which is probably pretty even, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what share of the equity would that dollar amount equal?
Hold on, look at this question. What share of the equity would that dollar amount equal? What they're going to get back? Let's see.
Yeah, would that be the 110 million, or what's their share? Which they still, so if the VC wants 25%, they still retain 75%. So would the answer to that question be 75% of the 110 million?
What share of the equity would that dollar amount equal? Yeah, that's kind of what I would think, but we're talking about equity now, not money. But I mean, it should be kind of the same thing.
You have to know how many shares, right?
Yeah, you'd have to know what percentage of the company they want to own. They want to own anywhere from 20 to 30% of the company. So, so I would guess anywhere from, and I just, if you take 27 divided by 110, it's like 27%. It gives you 2.5, but moving it over, it'd be like 27%. So I think that it puts them right in between 20 to 30%, just like they wanted.
You're saying that Mumati wants that much? They only want 23%?
No.
DuPage,
whatever it is. DPV. They want anywhere from 20 to 30% of equity in the company.
And so what dollar amount is that going to equal? What do we divide that, what do we take 25% of what? The 110 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's what they want for return. So then they're going to have $27 million to return to them and from their $3 million investment.
Okay, so that's a good, so I'm just going to write these numbers in because, so 27 million for DuPont.
Well, you want to go back and do the actual math because those are just rounded numbers.
That's what I just did on my calculator. So.
Okay.
What other means did the VC use to value the company?
Share your spreadsheets. I don't know. There's a lot of weird things in here. No one ever said to make spreadsheets.
Well, and it says this case, I wrote, my answer was this case did not give an amount of initial investment by the founders. It just told us what their personal, what they use, their 401k, and they didn't give us an amount. So the VC looked at the market comparisons and the projected income of Mumati. So that's, and so they want numbers, but we gave them numbers above that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not, so I think that's fine. I agree with Susan.
Mm-hmm.
They look at everything.
And what have you learned about bargaining tactics?
I think Mumate should disclose they have other offers. I think they're going to have to, or they're not going to be able to justify their means for. for asking for more than maybe what DPV would like to give.
I think that by disclosing their offers, they can also use them as leveraging tactics.
Yeah.
They can use them to say, hey, this is what this other VC firm valued us at. This is what they're offering. They don't have to give exact, but they can say, hey, this is, we know that we're valued at this much now. They've already offered us this.
Yeah.
So we like these terms that you have. We want to make some more of our own. I don't know if they negotiate like that, but
yeah, I would say just we want to work with you, but we need these certain and kind of give and take. You know, so maybe you can only have one founder instead of two founders, whatever, you know, but as long as you get the most important things, like get somebody on the board and get a chance to be CEO, and as long as you get your 2.5 million, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. And then terms, okay, discuss key takeaways. Terms allocate economic and control rights. What does that mean?
It means, you know, so depending on what the VC firms are going to give them determines how much control that Taylor and Maxwell are going to keep in their company. You know, so what decisions are they going to make? So, I mean, they want to give 2.5 million. That's what they want to get, and they want to give away in between. So I just thought of this too. So if DuPont wants somewhere between 20 and 30% equity, so they got to take like 2.5 million times 1.25, whatever, and that's what they would value the company at, because you know, that would give them their 30% or 25% in the company. But yeah, so I mean, that's all I think. You know, just depending on what the terms are, they could lose their technically.
Okay.
Technically, they could lose the whole company if they weren't smart about it.
So I'm gonna.
And they could lose. I mean, they would probably still have shares in the company, but they could definitely lose.
Well, they could even lose their shares because of the vesting agreements. So if they decided just to walk away now, the company would buy their shares back. They don't even have their shares for 3 years. So that's rough. But that's pretty normal, I think, is what the lawyer said.
Okay, conflicting priorities of investors and entrepreneurs in upside and downside scenarios. So what's our key takeaway from?
Well, I think my key takeaway is that no one's ever going to get exactly what they want. The investors aren't, and the entrepreneurs aren't. And we should never just, as entrepreneurs, we should never just say okay to what the investors want, because they're always going to make it best for themselves. You know, so there's always going to be some downside in an offer. You know, there's always going to be some things that we want. Maybe we want two people on the board, but they don't want that. They just want one person on the board. You know, but we can get ground in how much money they give us or in other things. So I think there's always going to be an upside and downside. No scenario is ever going to be perfect, but you just have to make sure that, you know, if you really get what you're most important about, but you're not going to get everything that you want.
So we should always counteroffer. I think a counteroffer is expected.
Yeah.
Right. So terms have a price.
So what I understand from this is kind of like what Andrew was saying, that every term has like a consequence. If you want to be on the board, you're going to have to maybe sacrifice that 25% to 40% of Prosper, or you'll have to value your company less because you want to be on the board. I don't know.
No, I think that's exactly right. I agree completely with that. Yeah, I mean, you want more money, you gotta have to give more company, you know. That means they're not just gonna give you, oh, here's $5 million, but you know, we'll still just take 20%.
Okay, and the last thing that I have on the questions was the VC valuation techniques. And that's a part that I kind of looked into a little bit more. And so I just wrote the 3 different ones they talked about. Applying acquisition transaction multiples, or number 2 would get a loan, avoiding equity dilution, which the bank will loan only 50% of their working capital. And number 3 was angel investors.
Yeah.
And they both have good benefits, because like the first one, the acquisition transaction multiples, it dilutes the company a lot. and just borrowing money outright saves a lot of that.
Well, I think specifically what the question is asking is how do VC firms value a company? And I think like what you first said is the acquisition things. I think they usually, I think that's usually done. They either use like an EBIT multiplier or they use a PE multiplier on total revenue. So
what's the PE multiplier?
So there's a ratio called the PE. It's price divided by earning per share. And so you find the price of the stock and then you divide it by the earning per share. But you don't do it for your company because you don't have stock. You do it on similar companies with similar sales. And then you times that by your multiple. So everybody does valuations differently. And you got to understand that a valuation it's just what people think. It's literally a guess because it's an opinion. That's why everybody gives a different valuation. So a lot of people will take EBIT multipliers from just like we did. They'll do the same exact thing, and they'll look into some other things like how many assets they have, what's the growth, blah blah blah. So.
Okay, so, well, the valuation techniques, I guess. Okay, so that would not even apply because the time it take. That's the third one, the angel investors. It would take a lot more time, and then they would have lost their international distributors would have not been interested anymore for their.
Well, technically, angel investors aren't a VC valuation technique. Right. It's another source of funding,
right?
Instead of a VC. So
that's not what I was saying. It doesn't really apply.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Not to the question.
So. Anyways, okay. That's all the questions I have for you today.
All right, and I don't think there were any votes, but I guess it says at the end of your meeting, take time to give a summary of your votes, which there were none. You will need to provide a timestamp in addition to your link. So the instructor will know when the summary begins. Well, I guess the summary is now beginning. And we thought, I guess we could take a vote. What do you guys think? DPV, was that the best offer do you think they could get? Or do you think they should go with one of the others and not even negotiate?
Can I give my opinion?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
After analyzing this more with you guys, I feel like they should piece together kind of what they liked from both the Astoria and Prosper.
Yeah.
I think they should go back to the DPV and say, hey, like, we have some other offers, and just negotiate with them a little bit more, see what they can do with DPV.
Yeah.
And if they can't find something better with DPV, because I don't know if we don't have enough information on DPV to know what the terms exactly were. And if they can't find something better, then go with, I don't know, go with their second choice, which I don't know which it is anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Can't come together for a good terms.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they're kind of close with DPV.
Yeah, and DPV contacted them first, and I guess for some reason that kind of gives me some loyalty to DPV. Mm-hmm. And I think they can, because of these other companies have given them these terms, I think they can kind of come to a middle ground between the two offers from Astoria and Prosper and kind of find a middle ground with DPV and get more of what they want.
Yeah.
So I guess there's our vote and summary.
Right.
Okay.
I wrote that down. So, because we only, in the questions, they don't ask really.
No, they don't.
Bunch of questions, just want us to state what we did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that works. And so you're going to give us the link. So you
I'll stop the